get around to it. I'd much rather these young people that I got listening
You
get
do
a
your
message rather than to,
yeah.
I got it, but I would much rather them hear the message because
Yeah, that's why I ain't even do nothing
support.
for me. The news
Right.
and all that. I just
And
want
I don't
to
need
have you
necessarily
here. Number
do it.
one, I appreciate you coming, man. I love
You
what you for that. I mean,
know,
because
in my regular job, I'm a high school teacher, so I know
What school?
okay.
Randolph.
Skill Center.
Skill Center. Yeah,
I went there.
I teach biology, physics, anatomy, physiology, all science.
I graduated from
My
Rochester
cousin
in
worked there.
1988.
Okay, well now,
Mr. Carr was my
Randolph.
community. Randolph Skill Center.
Skill Center,
Right, on Henry Avenue.
and that's not a part of Darwin.
Right, but it was on
So you
Henry
were-
Avenue.
It's still on Henry Avenue.
Yeah, my cousin worked there.
Came out of there in 88.
Joe
Joe
Williams.
Williams, well, you asked about me.
I know.
You asked about me, you know me.
You working the welding?
Yeah.
He's a welder. Like
Actually,
Joe,
can you weld my heat shield back on my car? It's little, it just rattling. Just move it.
Joe does a lot of good things for different people that, You got guys jobs at the air and gas. That guys right out of high school getting $34 an hour.
So I just need my heat shield welded back on the back of my car. That's it.
Joe Williams, you asked him about me tonight.
You coming back?
I'm just gonna pause it there.
Hold up, no, hold up.
Make sure you let them listen right now so that we can go.
What I want you to do is just bring me back, and then fade the music after you bring me back. Let me talk over the music since.
Will do. I wasn't gonna finish and just pause it. I could have stayed, there's only one other one anyway, so.
How many years you been with the school district?
Let me see. That's interesting. I started back in '81. And I left and worked in industry. I came back in 2001. So I got a lot of mixed time in there. So I've been consistently for the last maybe 12 years.
Okay.
All right, ready to come back?
Yeah.
Just put the mic on. And you're back here tuned in. This is Sadior Presents Open Conversation here on Heat 100 Radio. We're going to do things a little different. Time is approximately 6:15, and we're going to go right into our topic because our guest, Brother Iman Muhammad Abdul Halim of Masjid Allah, is in the building early, which we love because we get to give you more information
Earlier today.
Yeah, definitely with the early guests, we love it, especially with this type of topic, which I know a lot of individuals want to have questions.
You know I'm fired up.
Answers, and don't forget if you need to call in, it's 267-368-5328.
5328.
368-5328. Hopefully you tuned in, or you're watching on Ustream at ustream.com or .tv. Search Sadior, SADIOROC for Open Conversation. The letter OC, capital. All right. So what I want to do first is introduce you.
Introduce myself. I am. Get y'all situated over there. I am Philadelphia's Princess Tommy. I'm Miss Darkchild, and I welcome you to the station. I got some little ones out here. My big angel, my big buddy Angel got them locked in and listening. So, we can introduce our guests. Give us your name,
Okay.
but in the end, I want you to tell me how I can call you for this session today. That's all.
Okay. My name is Iman Muhammad Abdul Halim. My title is Iman. And you can feel comfortable calling me Iman, Brother Iman.
Brother Iman, that's what it's going to be for today. All right, Brother Iman, welcome to Sadior Presents Open Conversation. And I'm going to start off with the top 3 questions that I've been waiting for the show for almost about a year.
Okay.
Because I got questions. Sometimes I come from where I work and I go to Mark and I say, here's a situation that was presented in front of me today. You being a Muslim, how do you understand? Now,
Okay.
I'm gonna preface my background and say to you, my godfather, rest his soul, was a Muslim. My stepfather, who is currently in my life, is from Iran.
Okay.
So, you know, most
So you guys.
Muslims born and raised.
Right.
He was born and raised in, so there was no other. So, my question is, Muslims in the United States look way different from the Muslims in Arab countries, including the women. Can you explain some of it? Because I've got some notions in my head of what the reasons are, but I'd like to hear what are the differences and why is there a vast looking difference between Muslims in the United States and Muslims overseas?
Okay, I'd like to begin with God's name, verse of faith, like I must begin. I'd like to kind of coach my answer by saying the first they are obviously geographical differences.
Absolutely,
Like for example, the Christian in Iran and Christian in the Middle East doesn't know like Christian over here.
absolutely.
Neither the Jew in the Middle East and Jew over here. But I think specifically your question is, with the rise of Islam, you see a multiplicity of cultures, and many times, especially in the African American community, you see it's Spanish,
Okay,
where you see believers. When I say Spanish, I think you have believers who think that Islam is a certain look to being a
yes,
Muslim.
yes.
Like most times when I go places, that I don't look like the
And I was gonna
typical
say that.
Muslim dress, even though I've been Muslim virtually all my life. And Islam is a natural expression for me. And also, I'm a Muslim American. I live here in the United States, born and raised, have no other reality, even though God blessed me to go overseas and study in Mecca, study in Medina. But recognizing that once you come home, in order to move in society without having unnecessary roadblocks, the way you present yourself, at least you can get in the door.
Okay,
If you have a look that keeps you out of the door, you can't even present your case.
absolutely.
So many, especially here in Philly, you have many African American Muslims who remember that we have always the dual responsibility. One is to establish ourselves as a race, the other one is to establish ourselves as a religious group. And those two things sometimes are in conflict
With each other.
with each other.
Absolutely.
And African American, when establishing ourselves as a race, we're looking for an identity. So a
Absolutely.
lot of times we come to Islam not for its spiritual and intellectual value. We're looking for an identity. We try to dress a certain way, or we try to wear a certain clothing, or we try to have a certain facial expression.
Yes.
So that caused us much conflict in our own psyche, because we look at the lifestyle of the Prophet present, peace be upon him, and he was a businessman, right? So many people think that, well, I got to dress like he did 14 centuries ago. But if he's a businessman, how will he dress today?
Right.
What do businessmen wear today?
So the beard, they say, is called, they say, a Sunni.
Okay, no, that's
See, that's another,
okay.
I'm giving what the kids give.
Okay, now you have to understand, again, understanding the beard, the expression Sunni beard, a Sunni beard, is something that's unique to Philadelphia.
Okay,
In fact, actually, the rapper Freeway
Freeman,
was one of the first ones to have that
beard,
and
right.
made it fashion among the young people. But actually, the beard is deeper than that. In fact, let me see something from the beard. The beard in religious life is a symbol of wisdom. It goes around, it's supposed to be for the spirit, the voice of wisdom. And in fact, if you study religious history, there was once a woman who was the pharaoh of Egypt. In order for her to be the head of Egypt, she had to have a beard, Hatshepsut. So she put on a false beard as a sign that she had the wisdom to rule the country. So the beard in religion, in religious life, throughout history, has been a symbol of the power of the human voice to command respect.
Right.
Now, for us here in America, we don't know all that. We're thinking that the people are wearing these beards, and you see some brothers have the beard and it's full, but let's think about it. If that's a Sunni beard, there are some cultures where people are genetically unable to grow a beard.
Right.
And in fact, there's many African societies, because of our genetic evolution, we don't have a lot of hair on our face.
Right.
Here in America, we do, because we have intermingled with people of the European stock, who are more hairy in their face than most Africans. Africans are not known to have a lot of hair on their face.
Right.
All right? But for us here in America, we have had that genetic mixing. So growing hair on the face is something that we can't do.
So true or false is it, because these guys are little, so I know they listening because I'm still getting my text.
But
Is it, it says that in Islam that you're not supposed to cut your beard, and you come in well shaved, well groomed.
But again, we are picking up religious symbolism,
Symbolism.
not knowing the importance of the symbol.
Absolutely.
And now the symbol is governing our thinking.
Right.
So the question, maybe a deeper question, maybe, do we have to have a beard
That's what
to
they
be a
want.
Muslim?
That's what they want. That's what they want.
No, you don't. In fact,
Okay.
I gave the example of the rule of Egypt.
Right.
But there are some women here in American society that grow hair.
Facial hair.
Facial hair.
Absolutely.
All right. So if the hair is a requirement, then that means that any man who can't grow a beard is left out of that. Exactly.
So what about the young men with the pants above their ankles?
Okay, again, understanding religious symbolism. The word for ankle in the Quran is called Kaaba. Kaaba means your connection. All right. So in order to show you that I have no hidden connection, symbolically, my ankles are exposed so you can see who I'm connected with. Now you have a lot of young people doing this. I say again, it's fad, it's style. And they don't have no wisdom understanding what is the background of this. So it reminds me, and not to be facetious, but Michael Jackson used to wear
High
high water
water.
pants. That's what we call it, right?
Right.
High water. High water. Think about it.
Right.
No, but look at the term. High is elevation. Water shows sensitivity, right? So you have high water, you're showing that you were in a high state of sensitivity. But a lot of young people, they're picking up Islam not by teaching and training, but by their cousin, or their brother, or their friend, telling them they're going to do this, and without any reasoning behind it.
Right.
And one of the things that I do as an imam, I'm a teacher of the religion.
Okay.
In fact, my first assignment, I was sent here in 1975 by Abdul Imam Muhammad to teach the imam, the leaders, how to teach their religion so people can be free to express themselves in the way that God intended.
Okay.
So
Let me give you the women.
Okay, yes.
Since you got the men,
Yes.
and I need y'all to take these to the other floors.
Yes.
The young ladies.
Yes.
My father explained to me, being from Iran, as the reason that their faces was guarded is due to a lot of the sandstorms. So, because of the blowing of the sand in some countries, that's the requirement. Not so much requirement, but that's what the women would do because of sandstorms. Now, how does that translate here in the United States,
Well, see,
knowing that it says dress modest?
well, that's just it. See, dressing modest in America does not require the type of extreme dress that you may see with the face cover. Again, you got to go back and understand ancient religion, see how it has evolved into present day religion. In ancient religion, the covering of the face was hiding of one's beauty and hiding of one's intention. Right? It says, and again, go back. A lot of this go back to ancient Egypt. Isis. Isis was supposed to be one who was veiled. Right? And the veiling meant that you didn't know what was on that person's mind. All right. So here I've said it a lot of times. We pick up the habit. Say the women. You see, the modesty here can be a nice dress, a nice business suit, a nice skirt and blouse, and that's considered modest. Now, many of the women here in Philadelphia, to me, I see that the problem I see. Let me tell you what I see. It all goes back to education. We don't have a fully educated community in general, African American, because of the failure of the school system. But that same person now comes to religion that requires you to do extensive studies so you understand how to take this religion and apply it in the set of circumstances we find ourselves. You're not in Iran, you're not in Saudi Arabia, you're not in Egypt, you're in America. Now, how do I apply the rules of logic, of modesty, and the proper presentation of Islam in America? All right. So you have to have knowledge of how Islam is applied, not just reading something. I'm gonna do this. It's gonna make me a Muslim. All right. Because let's be honest now, you see a lot of young sisters who are dressed that way. But I visited homeless shelters, and they inform themselves. Well, how can you say you got a knowledge of God? You can't take care of yourself. I see young people, even at school, who may have Islamic dress, but got the behaviors of a savage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what happens is that unless a person has knowledge of what they're doing, they will practice something. It becomes blind ritualism. So whereas this like today, I pray to God, and I eat that, and I eat celebration. You had women from all over the world, celebrate, and yet each one had their cultural dress on. You had women from parts of Senegal, Africa, Nigeria, Europe, and they all had India, Pakistan. They had all kind of different dresses because the cultural life is an expression of one's understanding of how they have evolved socially in the world. So a lot of our women not having, I believe, the proper instruction on how you as a young woman, or you as a woman period, should present yourself so that you're modest. The key term there is modesty, right? And we have to keep in mind that in the context, in the social context in which people are dressing, it has a lot to do with how they have evolved culturally, whereas we have evolved here in America.
So is it really necessary to wear kimos, the headdress? Is it
Well, and again, you got to understand this.
right?
The head covering is not something that is mentioned by name in the Quran. It's more so from the Bible. Right? That's why the Bible says that the woman should not be in the house of God with the head cover. Right? That's very specific in the Bible.
Right.
And in fact, as I said, I mentioned you earlier offline. I was with some of my Jewish friends for the Yom Kippur, and I was talking to them about modesty and how God says to cover your hair. Now, many of the Jewish women found a way to do that and still show hair. They put on a wig, so their hair is covered, but hair you see is not there.
Okay.
Right? So because the term to cover your hair is in the same word as wine. Kima means that which is intoxicating. All right. Now, if you've seen the movie by Chris Rock, Good Head, you see how women the length they go to make their hair intoxicated. They spend thousands of dollars, to get the weave and all that. So the idea of the power of a woman's ability to be intoxicated is seen in the hair. So you're supposed to put on the headdress, so they can be a gay lady, a kima, a hat, so that you keep that intoxicating features, so from being exposed. That's the idea behind it. And the woman who understands that knows how to use her hair in the privacy relationship with her mate, so it can become an intoxicating experience.
Okay. Right. And I got two questions. The kids hit me. Two questions. One is
mine. I'm just falling back.
One is mine. One is mine, and one is theirs. I'm sorry. Martin is being patient because I'm trying to educate these kids. This week, the kids were given shahadas.
Yeah.
They took their shahadas, and it was a discrepancy in which the way they should have or should not have done it.
Okay.
My only thing with Islam is, and you can educate me, of all the religions, as I was studying and going through college, we had to visit a world religion class I took. We had to visit whatever your religious belief was, you couldn't go there. You had to go to difference to see what it is. As I approached the masjid in West Philly, I was asked about my menstrual cycle, on and out.
Right.
That to me felt invasive.
Right.
And then once I got into the masjid, I had to sit behind the men. So, and it was explained to me that the reason that the women sit behind the men is because the women are distracted. Now, my question in theory is the lust, because the man is focusing on the beauty of the woman, but women focus on the handsomeness of men too. So why can't men be distracted? Why can't we sit side by side? So take either one of those questions for that. Okay, I mean, either one first or second, it doesn't matter.
Let's first start with the shahada. This is where a lot of problems come in.
13, 14-year-olds.
Okay, right. See, firstly, I'm of the mind, and I think our religion says this, I'm sure it is, that, see, when a person takes a shahada, the word shahada means to be present in your mind. You should have a certain level of mental sophistication.
Say it again.
All right? Now, it's not a childish decision.
Absolutely.
And in order to achieve that state of shahada, that state of consciousness, you should first go through some classes. Or what is Islam? What am we obligated to do? How can I practice Islam? It's a question you have to ask. Because, you know, we say that a witness. So you take shahada, it comes out the word, I guess in English you say the word witness, right? But now, if you, in a court of law, you say you witness that there's no God but God, can you prove that? How can you prove that if you have never been taught the sciences of how to witness? You just, my friend is Muslim, and then he gave me the shahada, we give the young girl a shahada. You know, but is that a valid shahada if there's
That's
no
my
knowledge?
question. Is it valid?
In Islam, faith without knowledge is just blind following. It's called taqlid. A person should first attend classes where they learn what are the obligations I have as a Muslim, what are my duties, what are my rights, and then make a conscious decision. So do I want to live this lifestyle? And if I'm not ready to do all these things, I'm not gonna say I witnessed this.
Right.
Because once I say I witnessed this, and I'm over the age of say 13, I'm over the age of maturity, then I'm responsible for all these things, whether I do them or not.
Right.
You know, and things, and in Islam, ignorance is no excuse for disobeying the law. All right, so it's important that our young people realize that, you know, for them to be right in this shahada, they must first have knowledge so that they can make an informed decision.
Okay, I'm gonna slip this in because it goes by there.
Okay.
To make an informed decision. But when Ramadan comes around, they consider themselves as fasting.
Okay, once again, though, how are they fasting? The fasting is, are they going from sun up to sundown, no food, no water, no drink, no intimate relationships? Because if for them, a lot of young people, when I talk to them about Islam, so they still got girlfriend and boyfriend,
Right.
which is not permitted, right? They still, you know, well, I'm fasting, but there's no fasting, but. As I said, so you know,
said, but.
you know, right, right. So the point of this is that, see, Ramadan is the discipline of the biological urges. And as a young person, unless you've been trained how to control your biological urges, you end up being hypocritical. Doing Ramadan, you be sneaking around, you know, getting something to eat, getting something to drink, and trying to fake like you are fasting, and God knows.
You said it's controlling one's biological urges.
Absolutely, yes. That's what it means. Ramadan.
I got it.
All right, So now let's move on to
The
second,
women, yeah.
the women. Now, again, recognizing where we are. Now, there is a structure in Islam where is during the religious services, men and women are separated for the purposes, again, of education. Right? Now, and that separation can be, you can have several different ways. One, you can have the men in front of the women. Other one, you can have the women above the men. Other one, you can have women alongside the men, but where they call a partition, separating the two, because you're being instructed. So either one of those formats are acceptable. In fact, we did a movie, a video. It's called Unmasked. And some of my friends, they went all over the country. So you get on the internet.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, how do we?
Okay, and it's on the internet, but also you can, I think on YouTube, just put on UNMOSQUED. All right, Unmasked. And what we, in this video, and these brothers from different communities, different ethnic groups, different racial groups, we looked at the misrepresentation of Islam by Muslims here in America. Because I said, Islam is a body of knowledge that has to be applied in the context that you find yourself in. And so many of the Muslims who come from overseas are having great problems because they're trying to bring Islam not as the natural growth, but as the foreign growth. And therefore, so they have, especially when it comes to women, For example, some of the women have no rights. They can't even come into the masjid. For that point you mentioned about, whether or not a woman on her cycle out. That's personal. All right? A person who's seeking God, you didn't say in heaven, if I can use this as an analogy, you didn't say, oh God, when I get to heaven, I want to have a monthly cycle that caused me pain and grief. If you had to make a choice, then you would have chose that. But you, as a woman, you find yourself, this is part of being a woman. This is part of having the ability to bear children. Right? So the massages are the mosque, the plural for massages, plural. When you come to the masjid or the mosque, you come to reaffirm your relationship with Almighty God. Now, there's some massages, I'll be honest with you, they're very extreme. They don't want women at all. The massages are like, how can I put it, they're like old boy club. You go there, you find a lot of old men, claiming they worshiping God, and young people and women are not included, especially young, especially women. But in the more evolved masjid that evolved here in America, such as one that I'm Imam Emeritus of Mashallah, the women are involved in every aspect of the leadership, of the teaching and training, because you cannot function in America with one half of your population handicapped. You are joking. You think you can fight the forces in America without having educated women? Because the expression goes what? Expression goes the one who rocks the cradle shapes the world. So if you have an uneducated woman population, then your population within your community is crippled. That's why for us at National Law, our number one priority was educating our babies, therefore educating our children. All right, and educating our children is educating our women. And so there's a great focus on our women being educated, and our first institution alongside the masjid is Mashallah Early Child Care. And this, if you go on Washington Lane and Langford Pike, you see that bigger than the word masjid. Because how can you say you worship God and you're leaving your children and your women exposed to the wild of this society?
Wow.
See, that doesn't make sense. And if you got women who are more into empire, they are into teaching children how to be respectful of God.
Right.
The mass media, the mass media is just that. It teaches the people how to see reality. Right? So you see a lot of women try to be like something they're not. So we spend a lot of our energy in educating our women, and they have the same responsibility to learn the religion, to apply the religion, to be successful in the religion. Yes.
So a lot of what the young folks, the misconception is from the uneducated adults around them.
Absolutely.
Because I'm just realizing now that a lot of what these kids are doing, the adults around them put that in their head.
Exactly.
Because no adult should have been given that 12, 13-year-old the shahada, based on what you said, because he hasn't educated him or herself.
Exactly.
To, like you said, perpetuate the dress, the beard, the headscarf is still allowing the uneducated to lead the uneducated.
Right. It's on the blind leading
The blind leading the blind.
But you keep this in mind, especially in the African American community. We are a community where knowledge used to be highlighted. This is a time when you was striving as the people. We went through a period where we really pushed. Think about how many of our African American institutions were developed right after slavery. Right, all our conservative colonies came during that period. And ask yourself, how many universities and colleges have we established in, say, the last, 50 years? None. Our great emphasis coming out of slavery was to learn how to read and write, how to be, have our own mind to think for ourselves. As time went on, we left that as a value. And then you see kids come to school today, they can't come to school with no books. They come to school with, at best they got a cell phone. Now that's my kids. I said, is that a smartphone or a cell phone? A smartphone is something helping you get smarter. A cell phone is locking you up. It's because now the phone is controlling your behavior to the extent that you can't function without it. You go to bed with it, wake up with it. Okay, now, if you got a smartphone, how much are you using to learn about world cultures? How much are you learning how the phone itself works?
Right.
We have gone from being a people in search of knowledge to a people who are in search of ritual and jive. Right? In other words, I'm gonna look like I'm somebody. I'm gonna have the knowledge of it, but I can pretend like I'm that. And what was very is what I call the flavor of the month. Islam now in Philadelphia is the flavor of the month. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who is a Muslim. It is very few degrees to separate the average individual from what it is to be a Muslim. All right, now a Muslim who's a Muslim, whatever. But when it comes to the knowledge and the civilization building understanding of Islam, you don't find that in the African American community widespread. But think about it now. Every year during Black History Month, they have these big posters of Mansa Musa and Sunni Ali. You know, I think one of the big companies put about. But who was Mansa Musa? Who was Askia Muhammad Tutu? Who did he? People don't know. Mansa Musa was one of the richest leaders of Africa, and we wouldn't make Hajj. He gave away so much gold that the economic system from Ghana to Arabia was depressed, but he gave away so much gold to the poor and unestablished. How many of us know this? When we see these things, when we go to study Black history, we say, we don't understand that Islam, as a civilization builder, inspired the genius and the greatness of the African people. And men and women who study us as a people know that if we ever get back to that type of Islam, we can make America begin to be more truly is America the beautiful, stop being America the ugly to us.
Very true. Very true. Now, since we're talking about getting back to things, give us some. I know because I did research and I talked to Brother Salim about some of the things that the masjid do as far as community-wise. I know you just had the race, race. Right.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you one of the big things we're doing, have been doing for years. We have we call a Sadior program, where we feed Muslim and non-Muslims. We take food all, especially our elders, and it's part of what's called the Francis Fund. You know, and we work with the Catholics to help and help to bring relief to hunger in our neighborhoods. All right, and because we find that a woman a family that's hungry, you don't care how you believe in God, its stomach be growling. You know, and the mother who got 2 or 3, 4 children, you want her children fed. You can talk about Allah, Jesus, Jehovah, but basically human needs override religious doctrine. Right. So one of the main focus of National in terms of our community outreach is this Sadior program.
It's called Sadior.
Sadior means free giving.
Okay.
You know, we can't ask people for anything. We can't ask them what's their belief, what they Muslim. No. If you're a human being, we obligated to try to help you. This is one of our big.
It means free giving.
Free giving. That's what Sadior means. And we do this, and what happens is that working with Sister Mary Scully down at Home Project. We found that for Project Home, we found that we have found a likeness in terms of our interest in the human being and programs like that. So Master Law has been very much involved in helping to feed the home. That's one I'll say that.
You know what? Not to cut you off. It's real quick. I apologize to our listeners. Let's take it back a little bit. Masjid Allah, give a little bit of Masjid Allah, how they moved and how they grew, how the first donation was given from a Christian. I think it was the biggest one was $10,000.
$10,000, okay.
The first one was $1,000.
No, she gave $10,000.
No, it was 2 people, right? The first donation, if I'm not mistaken.
But the first donation
was $1,000
right,
from a Christian.
I'm telling you
And
what.
the biggest one was $10,000
from a Christian female minister.
Right. See, I've been doing my
Okay,
research.
well, let me suggest that we can go back a little further than that. When we were in our early development, we started not too far down the street here at Stinton and Johnson.
Right.
And we were in a next to, I think, Dr. Adam Craig, within the same building. And there we had a vision, a strategy maybe that was better. It was called the secret. It was Dower and community excellence in America. And this idea of that secret was to have us have an invitation to Islam, to the public. This is back in the early 80s. Now we had started in the late 70s down on Fishwater Street. I think when our first place of worship was in the Masonic Temple down on 13th and Fishwater. And we went from there to a place over on Huntington Park. Over the thing, you used to be a pizza parlor of like Nemo's Pizza. And in that corner, we were above them, right above them. And then eventually we moved up here. But and then at that point, we came with the idea of that secret. That was invited, and our community excellence in America.
So you go with memos off of Huntington Park?
Yeah, above that.
On top of that,
yeah.
With the 5 points, I call it, like, right?
Okay, right there, Huntington Park, Broad Street.
That's why I'm like, wow, I never knew that. All the times I walked across the bridge and went to Memos, I never knew that.
Okay. So we very upstairs, but we go there for a short while. I wasn't there that long.
Okay.
And then our next goal, was to move from there to Ogons, 77 Ogons. And one of our big supporters was Reverend Mars. I don't know how many you remember Mars, but Mars now, they have the Mighty Church of God down on Ogons and Snake.
Okay.
Right? It used to be called the Odd Fellows Home.
Right.
Well, we got started around the same time. So we had chairs, and they had tables, we had chairs, and we would help you like this church was. You know where the bank used to be there, Ogons, and 78. That's where his church was.
77.
Right, and our mosque was at 77 in Ogons. And we worked together. We've always had a very good relationship with our non-Muslim relatives. And so they would whether be Christian, Jewish. We even had relationship with Hindu because the guy next to us named Buddhist. He was guy on the cleaners. And by the fact we kept the area so clean, they would make donations to us to help on our program. Similar to what I'm talking about, the helping the poor. Okay. Eventually we moved in 2013 again. We met with the head of the leaders of the Minority Church of God in Christ. It used to be 741 Lincoln, which is on the corner of Washington Lane and Lincoln Pike. And they said, I remember when we were purchasing the building, they said to us that they felt so good that men of our status, at church, it got for the men of God, that's how you put it, was going to take over that spot and continue to serve the community. This was the head of the group, the elders of the church. And they were losing it, they were moving out of the church. But they saw that the mission will continue. So I explained to them, I said, well, the name hasn't changed either. Because Church of God in English is Church of God. In Arabic is Masjid Allah. The same thing. I said, so all we're doing is just translating. I have to make sure, because that's one of our big things we got to do as Muslims, to make our message clear. What is Islam all about? Right. And there's so much confusion about what Islam is. So once we got on Ogons, now on Washington Lane. Now in order to get that building, that was the whole footprint. Right. But we had a meeting, a big fundraising meeting, and one of the people were making pledges, making donations. The biggest pledge was this sister. I think her name is Reverend Barrett. I think it is. I'm not 100% sure about that. She gave a $10,000 donation because she wanted to see Islam in the African American community be a representative of the excellence she saw in us. She's willing to back us with her money. When a woman leads in a man, she would put her money behind. He better have to get straight up.
True.
Right?
Yes.
So what happens is, now this I'm saying interesting point. And our first major fundraiser, our keynote speaker was Reverend Wilder of EI.
Pastor Wilder.
Yes. And Graham, this caused a lot of disturbance in the Muslim community and the Christian community. Is how you gonna have a Muslim fundraiser, big thing down here, 3801, and you got Reverend Wilder is the keynote. I said, well, I said, well, why not? I said, he got the largest church in the area where we've grown up. And he is the same message. Okay, now we know that we're not saying that he's going to come and say, Lazarus had the law. Right. Now we're going to say, Jesus is our Lord and Savior. I said, but beyond that, the issue that we're dealing with, the issue that they're dealing with are the same. Right. I said, so, and then when I went and sit and talk with, Reverend Wilder, Pastor Wilder, I said, look, we know the elephant in the room is that we see Jesus differently. I said, so well, when you speak to us, say that. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get it out of the way as soon as we get started. When you make your presentation, you feel free to say it, because I know that he had issues in his church with him coming to speak to his Muslims. Mm-hmm. And the people within the Muslim community, we got so much flack. Because again, we're looking at religion through a very myopic eye. And I have a saying, I always tell people this saying, is, can you see the world through the eyes of the other? So much to the other becomes your brother. Mm. And you can see it that way. You stop trying to make people who you are. You accept them as who they are.
That's why it's so important, the interfaith that's going on. People are focusing this week on the fact that the Pope is coming. Granted, that's the historical piece. Mm. But the fundamental piece behind it is, and I'll share my story with you so you understand what my thoughts in my head is. Monday through Friday, growing up, Monday through Friday, I went to a Catholic school. Monday through Friday. Through the evening, my mother worked, and she sent us to the babysitter, who she was a holiness.
Right.
On Saturdays and Saturdays, the babysitter by herself babysat us, and her husband, my godfather, was a Muslim. Mm-hmm. So Sunday morning, we woke up Sunday morning, and we went to Arch Street United Methodist. Mm-hmm. So I got the Methodist, the Holiness, the Islam, and the Catholic. 1,000 through my whole day.
Okay.
So in the mind was a lot going on, because I seen us kneel, sit, pray, the priests and the nuns, and then I see my godfather and him making salat, he's praying, and then I see go to church and my godmother, they catching the Holy Ghost. It confused me. But as I got older, these recent older years, it started all to make sense. So I took a piece of everything to incorporate and encompass in my life. And I tell the kids, even through Islam, they pray 5 times a day. Why would that not be a good thing? Why would that not be something? Because it is a way of life. So if you're praying, you're not thinking about doing something wrong. You're thinking about the next prayer that comes into your life. So you don't have time for the negativity. Right. So they don't get that part of it. Then you see the Catholics, and you see the Holy Ghost, where the Spirit fills them to move them. But that's how African Americans lived, was through song. Remember, that's how they told them where they went and how you got from one place to the other, besides the quilts that gave you arrows and directions on the quilt. Song was how we learned. So this became a part of what makes me me. And I like the interfaith, because people want to say, all right, the Muslims stay on that side, the Catholics stay on this side, the Christians stay on that side. Your keynote speaker was Pastor Wilder.
Right.
Why not? And they said, why not? And y'all said, this is why we should.
That's right.
They need something structured that reaches African Americans, predominantly males, within the community. So anybody can walk off the street and go into a masjid and sit and talk. Churches are not always inviting like that. Some of them are large that Pastor Wilder's church, they didn't over becomes me. I can't
Mhm.
see that many people in one place and then talk about overflow, watching them on TV.
Mhm.
I can't draw personal connection. So where should we start with our young folks? And there's another question that popped in my head. Over there off of Hunting Park somewhere, is there some type of library for Islam? It's on the other side of Wyoming Avenue. It's near a firehouse over there,
The only thing I know is over there is,
near Edison High School. What's on that?
I don't know. There is a group of Muslims that's over in that area. It's not a library, it's a mosque too.
It is a mosque.
It's on concern though.
That's it.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I thought that was a library. I know
No,
it was
it
something.
looks like a library from
Yeah,
outside.
outside.
I think it used to be a bank.
Yeah, they got a big old sign. I thought it was a
Yeah,
library.
but I'm saying, but they focus on what point I mentioned about the education. Yeah, they have a strong education.
Yeah, that's probably why it looked like that.
But let me just say this, that in this past Sunday's Philadelphia inquiry, myself, a rabbi, and a Catholic priest, we co-authored an article said the Pope's visit is not just for the Catholics.
It's for everybody.
And I went to explain it. See, we're living at a time when there is a conversion of spiritual energies because the world we live in is in trouble.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's not kid ourselves. You know, the environment is sick, the social, economic system is wide of whack. You got maybe 1 to 2% of people controlling 90% of the wealth. All right, and so what we have done is with this Pope, his language articulates on a much global level the same language we were saying when in our local environment.
Absolutely.
That human beings. Let's look at our labels are important for us to identify each other. That's true. You Muslim, you Christian, you Catholic, you Buddhist, you Hindu. But that label sits upon the label of we all are human. And we have forgotten that. We are more concerned now with our added labels than our God-given labels.
Absolutely.
And as a result of that, we are having so many problems. I'll give this example. I don't give this example. You have some Muslims who are very concerned about a person who whether or not you're Muslim or not. You're Muslim, take your shot. I said, now, if you get in trouble, somebody, your house on fire, you ask the fireman, is he Muslim? No, you want to come and do what?
Do his job.
Do his job, put that fire out, right?
Right.
Right? So I use that example to say that in this editorial, I pointed out how, as I mentioned earlier, that okay, yesterday was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Today is Eid al-Adha, the Feast of the Sacrifice. Right? Here you got the Jewish Day of Atonement, and then you got the next day you got the Muslim Day of the Feast. In the week that the Pope is coming to the United States, one of the first ones in a long time. But more importantly, just him coming, but with his message. His message, a lot of people don't think about this. If you listen to President Obama, his message is very similar. President Obama has tried to address the social and economic disparity within our economic system. President Obama has addressed the problem of the environment. And here you have a Pope who is the head of 1 billion people coming now to co-sign what the President of the United States has already put out.
Right.
You don't understand. You see this.
It's that connection.
Yeah. That connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's happening? You find that people are finding that good people, right-minded people, are beginning to stand with and look. And I may not accept all the people that you believe. You may not accept all I believe. That's natural. In the morning, you get up. You don't like your own faith. That's why you wash it.
Right.
I mean, you get in your face, you're like, man, what happened? I always going to sleep.
Right.
But the point is, can we find common ground to work together?
That's the
Can we
important
build bridges of understanding? And we have a group that we have our young people involved with. It's called what is it? Walk the walk. You know, in other words, don't tell me what you believe. Show me. And when you do that, you find that we may have a belief system, but our actions are the same.
So what about the different, can you explain, a lot of my kids, explain the difference in Islam? They have some that call themselves 5%ers, some that call themselves Sunni Muslims, some that call themselves whatever. What's the different facets of them? Because these kids don't even know what they call themselves.
Right. I tell you, let me say this: that Islam, Muslim is one who, the general definition, is one who witnessed there is no God but Allah. That is the common definition. But the actual word Muslim means the original unspoiled nature of the human being. When the human being did not have any label, he was in submission to God. That's Muslim. Not only is the human being Muslim, but animals are Muslim. The planets are Muslim. Everything that's created was created in a mode of submission. Now, as a religious system, now let's kind of pinpoint it. As a religious system, Islam has it's a core group. It's two main groups. One is called Sunni, which is those who follow the way of the Prophet in leadership selection. The other one's called Shia, and you met somebody from Iran. It's called Shia. It's leadership selected by following the line of Ali. Right? But Sunni is electing a leader by mutual consultation. Now, but with that, like with any religious system, you got people gonna branch off. Then you have coming out of the Reformation. You have the Protestant, the Lutheran, because out of the Catholic religious system, you had a Reformation with Martin Luther. You got all these various branches of say what it is to be Christian. Now in the United States, a lot of people don't know this. Now I'm born and raised in New York City, and in the book Malcolm X, By Any Means Necessary, if you look at on page 117, you see a young boy standing in the front row, looking up at Malcolm speaking on June the 23rd, 1964. That was me. I go back to Malcolm. All right. Now I'm going to say it for a reason. When Malcolm was killed in 65, a lot of young brothers like myself, Malcolm was the X, and we became the Y, the Y. Why? What's next? And what happened was, out of that came a group called, with a brother by the name of Clarence 13X. He started a group called the 5%, because in our lessons, is who are the 5%? The 5% are the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the mystery God, but seek to teach and train the uncivilized who are savage. And that's one of our lessons we said. So the 5%ers came out of that time after Malcolm got killed. There was a lot of young brothers following adult leadership went and formed different groups out of the Nation of Islam in New York, and eventually it spread throughout the country, especially in the Northeast. You may not find a whole lot of 5% in other parts of the country. Like from here up to New York, you find a whole lot of Newark, places like that. But what the point I'm making though is that the influence that Minister Malcolm had with the young, because his message was revolutionary. It was, basically necessary. A lot of young people took that part of the message and never embraced Malcolm's message of moral reform. See, it's easy to be in a religion where nobody is checking your moral behavior. So you can call yourself Sunni, Shiite, 5%er, whatever. If nobody's checking your moral behavior, your religion is just another guise, another rap. So here in America, one of our biggest things is making clear what is Islam proper and what are the offshoots of Islam that now exist in the American marketplace of ideas. All right, and that brings us to the book of Allah, of the Quran. If one can establish their behaviors on the book of Allah, of the Quran, then it's safe. But if you have something that is an offshoot that can't be supported by what's in the Quran, you're in trouble because you don't have no foundation.
Here's the thing that I thought, and I'm thinking. When it comes to Islam, Muslims are said to believe everything in the Old Testament up until the point in which Jesus Christ considers himself as the Son of God, which makes them then disregard the whole New Testament. So I want you.
Firstly, that that's not Muslims don't believe that.
Okay.
In fact, the Quran, one of its roles is called Musaddiq. Musaddiq, it comes to confirm that which was before it. Now the issue, this is something that I said when I meet with my Christian and Jewish friends.
Absolutely.
I'll always make it point clear. I said the personality in Scripture, it gives most people problems, and that is Jesus. I say, and may God be pleased with him. And the Jews don't believe in him at all. The Christians have elevated him to God,
Like
in the way of sonship. The Muslims believe in him as a prophet, all right? And what's in the Old Testament and New Testament. Now, when you really study, and I think this takes some more of my background before I say what I'm going to say. I attended as a Muslim a Catholic college called Holy Cross, and one of my roommates was Clarence Thomas, who now Justice
Clarence Thomas.
We had these debates, him and a few other brothers, and in fact, they wrote a book on it called The Fraternity, a lady named Karen Brady. And in that book, she talks about how, and apparently was sharing, I ate the argument, I said, not so much we don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, it's more that we don't believe that God has to come in the form of a human being to make people believe in God, right? And one of the arguments I always present as a student, my background is physics. I'm my area specialist is physics. I said, think about this. Here you have a speck of cosmic dust in the universal order that only came into existence itself less than 4 billion years ago, where the universe had been existing over 14 billion years ago. So it means for 10 billion years, there was no Earth. You telling me that this cosmic, this macro cosmic piece of dust gave birth to God after the universe had existed for 10 billion years? Then who was ruling the universe when there was no Earth? So for Muslims, Allah says in the Quran, if God was to have a son, he'll take him from all the things he created. He says, be it is. There's no achievement for him. That's just so. But rather than all the people on that issue, ask them a question. Jesus now, as the faith system, being following Jesus Christ, he have about 1.some billion followers on the earth. Muhammad, a human being, had almost the same number. And in the Pew Foundation that did a research study, that by the year 2050, which is less than 35 years, Muslims, the followers of Muhammad, the human being, will outnumber the followers of Christ, the one you say is God in the flesh. So think about this now. Here is a human being who has no claim of divinity, achieving the same thing and greater than one you claim is God in the flesh on earth.
And I say that to you because I am more of an inclusive instead of an exclusive. Because my theory, and I shared with you, was that Christ was a Buddha. Because the story of Siddhartha was that he disappeared and traveled the world for a period of time. Christ was unheard of from the Bible from the age 14 on. There's similarities and parallels between what Christ, because Christ disappeared and he went out to travel the earth to see and to learn and to teach in the synagogues, and the Buddha did the same too, because his father tried to keep him within the temple so that he didn't know suffering and pain, and he left. So it made me think that the description of Buddha or monk at that time was what Christ was doing, traveling the earth. So that made me see similarities instead of the 40 days and the 40 nights.
Okay.
That's the same, the Bible stories,
The Bible story.
they differ.
The Bible stories and other scriptures, they have the relationship. Let me say this though, is that again, when I sit with other religious thinkers and scholars, one thing that we all agree on that these religious figures are more examples of what the human being can become.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In other words, there is a saying in the Quran which God tells the Prophet Muhammad, he should say, I am a human being just like you. And then Jesus says in the Bible, in John 14,
Who am I? Who do you say I am?
and he says, you are the son of man.
You are the son of man.
The son of a man.
That's right.
Right? Now he didn't say you are the son of God.
He said, he never said
Right.
God. He
He
said,
said that.
I am the son of God.
The purpose, we believe, of these religious figures is not for us to look at them, but look at ourselves. What is possible for the human being? What has God deposited in all of us? And given the right set of circumstances and the right conditions, our divine sparkle, let me use that term, will blossom if we see ourselves as being those who have been blessed by God to come out of the dead matter of the cosmic scheme to represent the excellence of what's possible for the whole material scheme. A lot of us understand is that religion not come to have you just go through rituals. Religion, these rituals, whether it be in Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, all of them, when you look at them, I was interested. I took some of my students before this last night for this, a young kid for a celebration over at Harvard College, and I said, just be open, and you see that, they have the same praise of God and the same thing that we have in Islam. The same way when I took them to the church, and they had the same thing. You think that God is limited to our perception of Him? We've been very naive to think that the one who created all of this can only have one way in which you can reach Him. True religious people find again that beneath the label is the essence of whatever you say you believe in. All right, and when you understand that essence is to make you, the individual, come into your Christ-like or your Islam, your Muslim. So we believe those who have studied deeply in religion. I can tell you something. In 1992 was the World Meeting of Religions, the World Congress of Religions in Chicago, and it happened every 100 years. Now in 1892, when they had the meeting, there's only one Muslim that was a part of this world meeting that they had, and Chicago was the old city. His name is Muhammad Alexander Rush, of a European descent. 100 years later, the host community was Imam Waki Muhammad, his community. We were the host. We weren't even in existence 100 years earlier. 100 years later, we now hosted people from all over the world coming to this World Congress of Religions. And we are the ones who, keep in mind that we are some African American Muslims and African American people in general, are the ones who were written out of history. Said in the American legal system, we were 3/5 of human beings. Said in the religious system that we were the children of Ham, encouraged to be slaves and healers for other people. Said in the scientific community that we were less intelligent. We were not as intelligent. We were negroid. We were like a little above the monkey. Right? Look at all these four major institutions: religion, education, political, and social. We were not even counted in 1892. Here we are in 1992. We're leading the World Congress of Religion, and in 1996, invited to speak in a Vatican City by John Paul II.
Right. Second for Pope John Paul II
All right. So to have achieved this,
is great.
we had to reconnect ourselves. And I'm going to make this point. That's something very important. I hope you hear what I'm saying. We did not reconnect this with only with our blackness. Our blackness we never denied. We connected back with our human essence. And that human essence, that's what gave us the impetus to rise above the condition that people claim we were. That's why I say for those who are Muslim and don't see the real beauty of Islam as a system, a life system that unleashes the human potential. In fact, the name that's on our building, you see, it says Mashallah Center for Human Excellence. And I constantly remind the believers there that it's not enough to say you're Muslim. You're not striving to be the best. You're not striving to achieve all that God has put in you. Don't tell me you follow Muhammad so fair people upon him, and you out here begging for basic needs. Don't tell me you follow Muhammad and you're not helping your fellow human being. And don't tell me you follow Muhammad and you got people who are homeless and you don't have no concern for them. Don't tell me that you follow Muhammad and you have no desire to lead this country in the right way. True understanding of the religious obligation, you're going to find partnership and alliances with Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, with blacks, with whites, with Asians, because to be human is going to transcend those labels that we put on ourselves and block us from working together as human beings. It's very important. And we're in that day and time where you see this convergence of forces for the good, and goodness is going to rise in America.
All right, I'm gonna give them a number real quick. So if anybody's out there that's listening, call at 267-368-5328. I got the biggest question that done burnt everybody. If my phone don't stop ringing.
Hold up. Let's take
I
a
got
break real quick.
Yeah. That's why I said I got the biggest.
We're
So
gonna take
listen,
a real quick break because
Quick.
Devon been jumping on me like break. I'm like, I'm enjoying.
Oh,
So
we're
we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're
Yeah.
tuned in to Sadior Presents Open Conversation here on Heat 100 Radio. Again, that number is 267-368-5328.
call us.
I don't mean just going. If I'm
No,
talking to you,
No, that's the way. That's why I set it up. I didn't
Okay.
want too
Nope.
much music, and I'm not asking questions because I go to AICP at 45th and
Yeah, I'm
Walnut.
agree with
And then I visit. When did we go to Sadior LLC? During Ramadan, right? Yeah, we went.
Well, do you know Sister
Bahima?
Khadija at AICP?
Yes. Yep.
She used to be my secretary.
Oh yeah. Okay.
When I first came to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I've been. I took my shahada. Well, my dad was with the Nation of Islam.
I was the Nation of Islam.
Back in
How old you that?
70. He just turned today. Matter of fact, this boy, I got to shout out my dad. Today
My
his
mom
birthday.
What's
He just
your dad?
turned 59.
Today the Pope birthday.
Yeah.
What's your dad's name?
Kenny Nelson.
Kenny Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay, be sure to
We
tell
all
me.
from a Baptist school.
Okay.
Yeah, all from a Baptist school.
Okay.
And I took my shahada 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell your dad. I thought right.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
knew about you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Khadija used to be my secretary before I went to so I don't want to get into it now, but there was a time when did we have this discussion now?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have this discussion the way we do it now because Muslims were one of my biggest enemies to this type of Quranic-based universal thing.
Right.
Because we had a lot of gangsters in the
Yeah.
right, and I came in and I was condemning that left and right.
Right.
We put big ads in the paper saying what is Islam and what Islam is not. They run through a lot of banks, selling drugs,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. That Suzu was out here, whoring the prostitute, the whole 9 yards, right? And alhamdulillah, to God be praised that we just stuck with the Quran, stuck with the Word of God, and good people from all walks of life came and joined us.
You know Wayne Hood? Wayne was with what was he with? Wayne Hood from Abbotsford. He used to manage and he had brought the FOI, I think, of the Abbotsford to do security. We was having a lot of problems and stuff like that. But I know he was he know a lot of the brothers. He was a
Yeah,
major
well,
guy
it takes us
back in
back in
Nation
19 what year was that? Had to be like that early. And then I just got back from Saudi Arabia. Let me show you. During the first Gulf War,
Okay.
how old are you?
43. I'll be 43 this year.
Okay, so
I was
you were okay. You look so young.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway, during the first Gulf War, they invited 4 scholars from America. And I was one of them to come and sit with all the other scholars in Islam, because the issue was, should American soldiers be allowed in Saudi Arabia in order to fight at Saddam Hussein? It was a big Muslim was upset.
Yeah.
And so we discussed it. I gave the same example I just gave you about, if your house on fire, you ask the religion of the person who come in to put the fire out.
Right.
All right. And I reminded the Saudis especially that before Islam, they was nothing. There's no evidence in history of Saudis or Arabs, period, not just Saudis, but Arabs, doing any great accomplishment. There's no monuments in Arabia, there's no great library, no great nothing. Their biggest achievement was after they got Islam. So and being invited by the king, and not to be insulting, but you want to see many African American Muslims see the Arabs as being the height of Islam, when they're not.
Yeah, it's not. Believe it or not, I think they lowered their
Brother,
3% of
brother, I tell you deeper than that. If you go out, I used to take blues every evening year to Mecca on Hajj. You know, because I lived over there, so I know. I speak the language and all that, so I tip anymore. But I showed them, I said, look, you may not like it, but don't try to speak Arabic when you do. Because they do have a caste system that's very deep. And the top is Americans, Westerners, and their eyes are the people. Then it's Arabs. The Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula. Then it's Arabs in places like Egypt, Lebanon, like that. I said, but they'll tell you this. People didn't want to hear it. But even the scholars that I met from Africa said that there was a sense that African scholars were not as high as Saudi scholars. So African people were not looked upon as being on the same level as Arabs. So, but we are a oxymoron. We're African what? America.
Right.
Okay, got Americans on top and Africans on the bottom. And
Who are we in between?
we at the top bottom. I'll tell you, yeah, man, had the mishwash. This is not possible. Either you cannot be Africa and America. You cannot be this. I said, why not? I said, my roots are African.
Right.
And my growth in the world is America. See, and we come and we break all that class system that they have. We is a caste system.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm
I'm telling you, brother.
Yeah.
Our movement Islam here in America is setting off shockwaves all over the Islamic world.
Yeah, that's right. We growing.
Not only growing our influence.
Yeah.
Our influence. And what y'all doing here, I told brothers, look, if this is on the internet, I'm telling you, inshallah, everything will go well. But you guys are putting heat out on the internet right now.
Oh, yeah,
You have advice.
Hey.
So you think you really want me to come? I'm a controversial figure.
Yeah. That's
So we appreciate.
one thing about me,
I just
I
work with
don't
a bunch
hate.
of little kids, and I think their misconception that the adults are not giving it to them correctly,
Right.
and it continues to perpetuate the ignorance.
All right, we come back. We can just.
Right. But so where you work at?
Where's the-
Oh, okay.
I don't say that.
Did it like that?
I didn't even touch on a lot of stuff I was going to touch on because I don't want, like you said, I don't want to shake people too much.
No, you gotta shake because
Because what I know and what I know people ask, and when I say certain things, it's like, huh?
But I love her question because see, I'm sure she's dealing with the fundamental issue that our young people are facing.
Right.
And we have to help them. We have to really reach out because they sincerely want to learn more about Islam, but at the same time, it's becoming a fad.
Right,
And
and that's what they're doing.
That they don't put themselves in their soul in danger.
They got 12,
That's
14
why I'm letting you
year olds.
rock out. I don't
14 year olds,
any
and
questions you
12-year-olds.
get.
I'm like, how does that even sound
You
right?
know, here.
I come back.
Let's come back.
I'm Muslim
I
now.
took my shower last night.
Well,
You gave it to me.
right.
We are back here. Sadior presents Open Conversation. I'm in the building. I'm just real quiet. I'm letting this dark side of the thing because most of the information, I'm sitting back smiling because I've done research and I've learned in classes that I went to and I visited Masjid And matter of fact, it was in, they read with me, so.
So here's the question. Does Master the Law offer classes for, at any point, believers, non-believers? Is there some open welcome day of the week?
Yeah. Well, let me say this, and actually, what we do is we have cultural program. In fact, starting on October 1, every weekend we have cultural programs, because I mentioned earlier about us understanding our history. And so understanding African history, African American history, and how Islam has been an influence in it. But also we have regular classes. We have classes on basic Islamic studies, basic studies in the Quran, basic studies in prayer. But for the general public, we find that people are more attracted to cultural programs than they are to just classroom settings. And we find that these cultural programs, in fact, there's one, we've gotten the city to acknowledge October as the Islamic Heritage Month. And then there's a whole series of programs set up both at the masjid, in the schools, and at the Friends Center down on the Parkway. They have programs that culture, like dance and music and art. Because let me say this. There had been a movement, I gotta say this, to tell African American Muslims that music is forbidden in Islam. Now, when you say that to people who have used music for their very survival over the centuries, you are stripping them of what we call their hereditary life. Music and art, these are the things that when nothing else was working for us, we cried out to God in song and and think about, that's why we got to respect our brothers and sisters who are Christian, because that Christian faith sustained us during some very dark times in our history as a people. So now to come to Islam and say, well, I'm going to throw all that away, is you being stripped of the very power that sustained you when you were powerless. So we try to have cultural programs. For example, we have one who deal with, there was a slave by the name of Omar ibn Said. He was in North Carolina, and he is known in history as being one of the first African Muslims to write the Quran from memory while still a slave. Right? We didn't know this. Right? Another one is called, you probably heard of a movie called The Prince Among Slaves, a man by the name of Abdul Rahman El-Fulani. He was captured as a young warrior and brought to New Orleans. Right? So we have programs like that where we teach the public, the general public, the Islamic history that's in the African American life. And we do cultural presentation of reenactment, do music, do different aspects, especially the culture. Like we know that our people, we get a bigger turnout through these programs than in our classes. So we view, and we have another group. I'm sure you probably heard of this group called the Dessert Club. They have a program on a regular basis, once a month. We try to encourage young people to be a part of that, so they can visit Africa and visit Egypt and visit Ghana and Senegal, because we want our children to know. And we also have a group that goes to what we call the the American Freedom Trail. And they need to reenact the underground in the railroad. They go to all the different cities. Because we want our children to know the history. How did we get to where we are today? And what role did religion, whether it be Christianity or Islam, play in our sustainment as a people?
Okay, here's another big question that I know that our listeners are listening to, and it's burning. The eating of pork. Now, I have watched, prior to my present day employment, I worked at Ben Salem Youth Development Center,
Okay.
which is up in
I tried to go there with the young brothers up there
yeah.
a few years ago. I got a walk from that.
Yeah. That's probably where I know, because now I'm looking at it and I recognize it. They used to come on Thursday nights.
Thursday night, yeah, Thursday night,
Thursday
with brother named, you bring me up there. I can't think of his name.
Little short, light skin guy, I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
That's, I just, it'll come to me.
Okay.
Anyway,
About pork.
pork.
Okay. let me-
Here's what the kids, here's how deep it gets sometimes. I can't lick that stamp. That glue got pork on it. Now, those marshmallows, they got pork in it. Even toothbrush, I see some
Bristles.
broiled bristles on certain brushes.
Right.
They don't pay that attention to it.
Right.
So it gets at sometimes so deep that they don't even know where it's coming from and why they do it.
Okay, let me say this though. First, let's look at the idea of the prohibition against eating pork. This is not only in the Quran, it's also in the Bible.
Yes.
But not only is it in the Quran and in the Bible, it's also in the health manuals.
Right.
Pork as for being just for human being, it brings with it other issues. Usually when you regular pork, you go to the doctor and you get older, well, the first thing they tell you to do is stop eating pork. Because pork is, as a substance to eat, helps bring on a lot of illnesses, especially for things like high blood pressure, rheumatic,
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Rheumatoid arthritis. So that's not something that's relegated to Islam and Christianity. It's also in the scientific community. What has happened here in America is very interesting. Pork has become such an economic industry where they found ways that you cannot imagine to put pork in as a emotion to hold things together. So what happens is that when a person becomes conscious, they start reading labels and they look at things, they realize that, and especially for example, now people may eat say like, let's say McDonald's, they get a bacon and cheeseburger. Now that same McDonald's though will sell a bacon and cheeseburger in say Saudi Arabia, Egypt, but the bacon is beef. Think about it. Why is it that in American community, especially African American community, we have an overabundance of places where pork is highlighted, right? Especially knowing that you got to think about it now. When we were a people captive and could not make dietary choices, what did they give us to eat? Pork.
They can.
All right, think about it. Now, think about it. We become free. What do they give us to eat? So how much freedom have we? If you can't control what's going to your stomach, how can you control what's going to your head? Making a rational decision. Say, look, if I want to eat healthy, then I'm gonna look at the diet that I had when I was groomed just to be a physical person rather than a mental person. And I'm not saying that pork doesn't have any benefit, but as God says in the Quran, the harm outweighs other benefit. So what happens is that I think in our young people, once again, though, there's so many things have pork in it. First, I was at a conference on what's allowed. We were talking about doing business with countries overseas and sending stuff over. Did you know that cheese, milk, cheese, they use pork to hold the cheese together. And what happened at this conference and this business deal, actually, the issue was, well, can you get cheese that don't have pork? Because if you want to do business say with Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, then you have to have non-pork wrapping with your sauces, with your cheeses, right? And so when you see the young people trying to be more sensitive to eating pork, the question that I would tell them is this: what are you going to do as an alternative? How much of your genius are you going to use, not just to identify where the pork is, but here is an alternative to the pork. Think about it, because if you go to certain communities, like I said, and I have many friends in the Jewish community, you don't have this wide array of pork products. whether it be in toothpaste, in toothbrushes, hairbrushes. They are strict, especially the ones who are strict Orthodox. Many of my friends are Orthodox. They don't allow that. Well, here in the African American community, as people become Muslim, they want to bring that same strictness, but without the economic backing. You find that this, you got a young brother, young sister, they become Muslim. They go home to their mom, oh, you no more pork. Okay, mom, okay, well, this is what you got for dinner. Take it or leave it. That's what's on the menu.
Right.
And now, if you really true for that, I remember as a young man when I was going to New York, and I was in a relationship with Islam, and I wasn't even a teenager. For almost like a year, my mother tested me. I ate vegetarian beans rather than eat pork. You saw that I was serious? He said, okay, now, and eventually my whole family went and stopped eating pork. But she personally, when he just talking, because she still paid the pork chop and all that. But all I got was what? Those beans. Now, if I was faking, I'd have said, oh no, let me get a piece of this. So my point to the young people is that when you become Muslim, the only one in your family that changes is you. You can't change your family by proclaiming that you change. You can have a greater impact on them
To show
to show them that you're serious about the change, and not only that, you are willing. Because my mother also made me go out and buy the vegetarian beans. I had to shine shoes on 125th and 8th Avenue in order to make money to buy. Cause, well, if you don't want to eat what I'm feeding, you got to buy your own food. So I bought vegetarian beans, and I bought. I went to the mosque at the temple, and I got some brown rolls, whole wheat rolls.
That's what we do, me and my wife, when we go to cookouts a lot of times.
Mhm.
We'll take our meat, and people say, oh, we got beef. We say, but it's not kosher meat. And they don't understand. They look at us like, I say, well, then you got to break down how it's killed and, different things of that nature. But every time we go to a cookout, we end up taking our stuff as far as the meat part. Then we get the salads from the cookout.
Right. Well, I think the person I like to be sensitive. I remember I was invited to a state dinner, and they were trying to be sensitive to the Muslim dietary, and then they had and then they were doing these multi-course meals, and so they had the beef, they had lamb in fact, but they also had some pork, because on this Muslim diet you got Christians at the meeting and Jews and others. So when the course came around that had the pork on it, I just took my spoon and pushed it to the side. Because I didn't want to offend the host. The host was trying to go bending over backwards, had beef, lamb, and pork, and chicken. They had fish too. But they went out of their way. So, and people, they didn't know who was who. Like, there's nothing. See, the whole thing was be at the table, but not make a distinction.
Right.
So but I'm saying when the pork came to me, I had to be smart enough or sensitive enough, just put it to the side. Some people may not like lamb. I may not like fish. So the point is, when you got a host that's going out its way to try to satisfy a multi array of diets. They even had vegan, which is different from a vegetarian. This person went out of their way. It was the lavish setup. It was, and they could afford that. My point is that for our young people, you got to be wise in how you approach insisting on things not having pork in it. Because unless you have a reasonable alternative, what are you going to do? Now, if you're going to, on one hand, proclaim it, and it's got pork in it, well, then this opportunity, this becomes the market.
But liquor stand up, bro.
Well, look, see the stamps. I think they got most stamps today though are self-adhesive.
Right. Now they go.
You know what I'm saying? Back then, see, mind the glue.
Right.
The glue, and if that amount of pork gonna destroy your whole Islamic life, then your Islamic life is limited.
And you know how you open up a milk carton? They tear the lip part of the milk carton because they said the glue that held the top of the milk carton together was poor.
That to me,
It was to me, it was
This
just,
is kind of extreme.
it was just too much.
Well, again,
But I respected it, and I let it go.
but ask the question, I always ask the question, okay, let's say that all that's been said is true. Well, what are your alternatives?
Right.
What are you doing? So what we'll understand, I talked with, I was having a discussion with, Minister Parker, he was here last year, we had a program. And he was talking about the whole idea of, say, the Million Man March. I said, Brother Minister, because I've known him since I was doing that in New York. I said, we've done a lot of marching. I'm taking that away from him. I said, but what our program following that up? When are we going to move from protest to projects so we can see, have benchmarks to see how far we have come in the last 10 years, 50 years, and so on. So the point of this is that we tend to, as African Americans, I'm talking about as African Americans, we tend to be big on making noise, but have no strategic planning to affect meaningful change over time. So, okay, now, if we have a problem with, say, pork in our neighborhood, right? Then we have a problem, say, with different people who sell the pork in our neighborhood. Well, then the solution is to own the stores and sell the product we want. The solution is to go into manufacturing the thing. There's nothing that says you, as a citizen of America, can't own a farm where you can sort your own meats, bring it to market to the inner cities and sell it. Right? We have to stop being people who only complain about the problem, or who march against the problem, who protest the problem, and come up with long-term strategic planning that each generation will solve a part of the problem. We can't do it all at once, we know that.
Right.
But we should be, and say, let's say if our issue is diet, health. Look at the whole health food movement. It has grown. I can tell you something. Back in the 70s, Tasty Cake used to have pork and it's Tasty Cake. We went and we said we're going to stop buying Tasty Cake. Well, Tasty Cake understand economics. They went and changed from lard to vegetable shortening so that she can keep that market.
That's the thing that we see earlier, numbers.
Yeah, numbers that are organized and strategically planning. See, what we have to realize that, I'm not talking to African American Muslims. If we want to see Islamic life here in America, we got to build our life as a community. What's the problem you talking about? Much of the problem is because these children don't belong to any type of community development. They just on their own. They make it Islam as they go along. They make it they imagine what it is. But when you belong to a community development, you're in classes, you're working with people who are living Islam. Because think about it, many of them are in learning about Islam, but they are not in families.
Right.
So a lot of times they go home to a family that's not Muslim, and they struggle. So they're Muslim and maybe they're in school, they're in different settings. Like sometimes a lot of them find Allah when they're in prison or they didn't broke the law. But let's be honest, man.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden they be holding, but even then they see religion as a protest.
Right.
See, if you found true religion, my word to them is if you found true religion, then you should behave in such a way that the prison or the youth study center can't hold you. It can hold you physically, but not morally and spiritually.
Right.
So you become such a model citizen. And so this person here, this person is self-check. But if we only have religion as a protest about what's pork or what's on the stand, those are secondary issues. Those are small. But true religious life is when you come together with people, and if you drive down Washington Lane and Langford Pike, you see we begin to put up our flags. People who conquer territory leave their sign. All right, their flag. Now in our neighborhoods, people they're a little more sophisticated putting up flags, or they put up their stores.
Mm-hmm.
How many stores do we own in the African American neighborhood? I use the neighborhood given from say African American, we don't have an African American area that we can identify by any establishment that, well, African Americans control from this block to that block, and from that block to that block. And when we become Muslim, it's the same way. We have a building called a mosque or a masjid, but how much of our influence extends outside the masjid? And then there's no talking about, pork is small. But how about alcohol? How about drugs? Let's stop these things. Let's stop these things. Okay, in this square block range, the 10 block range from around the masjid, there's no drugs being sold. There's no bodegas selling us bad food. Now you got something, right? But all you're worried about is small things like whether or not the toothpaste got pork in it or the stamp got pork on it. That's small. You know, buy another type of toothpaste. But how much of your neighborhood, what is your plan for that? So what are the steps you're taking to put up your flag saying that, well, look, people say, well, if it's Friday night, that Thursday, let's say Friday night, African Americans all become Chinese. I mean, by what?
Chinese
food. Now you're not, not saying that it's Chinese food, but you're not China.
Right.
But now you can't go down to own a store in Chinatown.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
Okay, then you go and you buy hoagie from the hoagie store, or a Thai hoagie. Hold it. Do you own that store? See, the issue that we have to have, this is where our young people understand that God gives human beings different life systems, and for us, the life system we're using is Islam. But if all you're using Islam for is the show, for a dress code, for whether or not the type, whether or not the food you have has pork in it, that's small. And you'll be a small people forever if you focus on that. So we look at controlling your neighborhood, manufacturing your own food, owning farmland that allows you to produce your own food. Let's tell you something. I'll give you for example. I use the farm. A lot of us say we eat vegetables, but you know that they use pig manure as fertilizer. You don't really get into it. You're talking about a system that has built itself on producing cheap stuff, selling at high prices. This is America, the capitalistic society of the world. And if you don't, and I said, like I mentioned earlier, when you have numbers, you can afford. We're not going to buy. Let's say we say that come the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, there's no blacks spending money. If we had an organization like that, we could do something. But we're not doing it. We'll be right at the store, knocking on the door, trying to get the sale. Right. So no one takes us seriously.
Right.
Because we don't use our numbers.
Right.
And we as Muslims, and I told some brothers and sisters, look, you mentioning God. How many of God do we make? None. We just replace people of European descent as our daddy and mama in economics, to now people of Arab descent as our daddy and mama in economics. You got Islam, but you're still a second-class citizen because you won't step up to the plate and control your own environment. That's why his name, the master of law, that we insist on teaching our own people. Because whoever feeds you ideas control you.
That's true.
Right? So this ain't some game of it.
So that's the same thing could almost be said about therapists. Therapists feed kids ideas.
Well, I think that I always have a problem with therapists. You know why? Because if you divide the word up, you got the rapist. THERAPIST. When you let people who are not themselves morally balanced into your life, they can rape you mentally and spiritually. You have to learn to trust God first and foremost. And then when the therapist comes out there, you can help the therapist, because one thing that if people study psychology, the study of the human soul, but don't believe in the human soul having its day of accountability before God, that to me is great.
Before, not to jump off the subject, but what I needed you to do for me was give me your information as far as the masjid information. If someone wanted to get in contact to come to the masjid, to check out the child care I think we had, the school, Congratulations to Mr. on the parking lot to his
Yes,
purchase.
and we do it to develop that into a senior citizen facility. And we take care of our seniors. And also an economic, we got set up, we're setting up a line of stores that's facing Washington Night. Again, we can't just talk the talk without walking the walk.
That's true.
And we
So
got to set up a model.
if I'm somebody that don't have that information, how can I get in touch with somebody at the?
Okay, well, first of all, the name is Masjidul Law, spelled MASJIDULLAH. We're located at 741 Lincoln Pike, which is on the corner of Washington Lane and Lincoln Pike. Our phone number is 215-424-8022. All right, and we're open 7 days a week, primarily from like about 5 o'clock in the morning to about 8:30 at night. Our school is called Mecca, National Law Early Child Care Academy. They're open from 6 to 6. All right, and a person can come in any day if they want to check. They want to put the child. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that. I'm like, this. You have to check on that. I think there's a waiting list now because we're trying to get Keystone 4 rated where we'll be able to increase our numbers.
Okay.
Because we want to, our whole thing is to have top quality teachers and top quality facilities. And so we're waiting on the state to give us that final Keystone 4 rating. And then we got a whole second floor that we're looking at turning that into that at the next level of our school. Right. So they're welcome to come and see all this and be able to be part of it. But our main worship day is on Friday Jummah. Goes about 1 to 2, 1 hour. And we have classes all during the week. And they're welcome to come, anyone, Muslim, non-Muslim, come in and witness this and actually be a part of it. We're looking for, I'll be honest with you, I'm always recruiting. Because we're looking for people who want to make a difference. They want their lives to mean something. Because one of the worst things you see in our community, you have people who are very talented, but they're not connected to nothing.
Right.
They just kind of out there in the wind. And every time we get an opportunity to speak to the general public patient, the African American, we have a lot of very talented people. But until you come into a strategy that would empower us by working in a systematic way, you'll live your life in constant issue orientation. You'll never be one a problem solver. Right? We should have the same issues 10 years from now that we got now. You know, think about some of the same issues that I dealt with around the young man, growing up in Harlem. We still got them today because we only protest the problem. We didn't seek to solve it. So I thank God that we now have a strategy from the Quran that's allowing us to make step by step towards solutions. And starting first with our babies. This so dear to us that we want to make sure that they grow up without all of this. Let me share something with you. I've been promoting this for years, and all the demonstrators what I'm talking about. I use my own children to practice what I preach, and I praise be to God. My youngest daughter, who was born right in Philadelphia, who went to Girls High, and from Girls High to Yale University, from Yale University to Harvard Law. Now she's now the Consul General, President of Barack Obama. Born and raised on the philosophies and ideas out there. Because if you can't be the king, let's be the one who whispers to his ear. That's a strategy.
That's true. And on that note, I want to give the other office number, 215-621-7800, just in case you want to meet, you want to give a call or that you want to visit the magistrate.
Yes, the brother.
Yeah, Brother Salim, he on it.
Yeah, okay, I couldn't think of the number.
Yeah, he just hit me up with that. So, I definitely want to thank you for coming. I definitely appreciate you taking your time coming out to speak to our listeners. The time is approximately 7:56. So I know time
flies.
when you're enjoying it
And I hope all the little babies out there heard
Yeah,
and got the information out of it because we had a long discussion
and that's what
about what
about
and who, what, when, where. Because shout out to Mr. Angel, who always keep them on point and listening. But these are some of the things that now they've heard.
Right.
Now they should better understand. Some things I heard that I wanted to know, that I needed to know to better understand Islam in the way. Some people even go as far as to say Muslims and Muslims, to try to change the phonetic spelling of it so they can differentiate between United States got Muslims, over the Arabic country they got Muslims. So they try to switch up the saying so that these, come on. But
So let me say this, that, keep in mind, I want to say this to our audience, that when a lot of the earlier translators of Islamic language, the term Muslim and Muslim was mainly focused on Muslims, focused on Europeans.
Right.
People in Europe, though, coming
Right.
Europe. The focus was not to bring Islam to America. I think I understand it. So there was a strategic difference. And many people never thought that Islam would take root in the African American community.
So how did it actually get to the United States? I know the
Okay.
story from what I heard is Malcolm X.
And that's a whole nother program.
So just
Yeah,
make
we gotta
sure.
get you back on. I
Okay,
know
well,
this is a
making
lot.
sure with that, I think the people, or the ones who had the most, we call a dawah, was Ahmadiyya. Ahmadiyya was coming out of a place called India, Northwest India, in Northwest India. And they came to make an intellectual appeal to the intellectuals of America to show the superiority of Islamic thinking, that God is one over the idea that God is one and three.
Right.
But somehow, and that's it for another discussion, it left the intellectual level and somehow got into the ghetto starting in Detroit, Michigan in 1930. It came among us as a very strange teaching of one W. Farad. That's a whole nother discussion.
What was his name?
W. Farad and the starting of the Nation of Islam.
The
birth of-
starting of the
The
nation.
Nation of Islam was started by this man by the name of W. Farad.
So was there, I know we only got a few minutes, but you know, to the end, why they do what they do. How much influence was it, just, you know, Cassius Clay becoming
Critical.
Muhammad
Critical.
Ali?
Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, these were our heroes, known as they were bigger outside of America than they were even in America. Minister Farrakhan, Imam Morty Muhammad, these four were all fruit of one Elijah Muhammad. So his influence in producing, and even myself, produced men of the African American line who broke the gravity of white supremacy thought. Muhammad Ali refused to go into the military. Malcolm could argue with the best of them. And I was blessed to travel with Malcolm and with Minister Farrakhan and see these guys take on the best intellectuals at Harvard, Yale, places that you couldn't imagine. And the last one, Imam Morty Muhammad, I had a chance to travel them up around the world. We went to Arabia. We were part of the group of ulama scholars that met in Mecca to determine the whole issue of the Gulf War. He brought us completely into the Quran and how to use the Quran as the strategy for establishing unestablished people. So those four, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Mr. Farrakhan, and lastly, Imam Muhammad, all had an influence, I think, in shaping the direction of the African American one line, in which Islam had what I call a line of pure thinking, where it wasn't foreign born. It was both here in America.
Wow. So that's a lot. So we hope that we gave y'all the best of the best. You got anything you want to say? Any parting words?
Yes, I just
Some
hope.
Arabic, whatever.
Yes, I just want out there that the young people seek knowledge of Islam, and seek it from the authentic sources, and see Islam as something as a tool to help them become better human beings. I mean, that's the thing. And my prayer is that our young people will embrace the pursuit of knowledge, and so that they have a clear understanding of what is Islam and what is the Muslim.
All right, y'all. See you once again. Thank you. You've been tuned in to Open Conversation on Heat 100 Radio. We appreciate you. All y'all, it's bedtime, fellas. A side, B side, let's go.
All right, definitely appreciate everybody listening. This is your boy Mark Crowd. I thank the man for coming and giving that information. We're gonna have to schedule another time.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Definitely a lot more information.
I can't tell you right now that I was telling people that I don't expect anybody to agree with what I've said.
Right,
That's naive.
right.
But we are willing to defend what we're saying with the knowledge of the Quran and the knowledge of the words of our prophet and the knowledge of the Bible and the knowledge of this history in general. Now, I think it's not just coming from a limited perspective of what Islam says, but I pull from all of the knowledge bodies that exist
Right.
for human beings. And we hope that, if people, they will have, I'm sure you're going to get probably next week people who didn't get a chance to come through this week, I'll call you because we're going to get out. That's how we work.
Right.
And anytime you want to, you just let me know far enough in advance.
Definitely.
Now I'll arrange my schedule to be back because I know that you can get a lot of flack.
Yes,
I'm prepared.
I'm prepared.
I'm prepared. I can say that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you, and to all my sisters and brothers, Eid Mubarak, and Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, what's your name?
Mark.
Brother Mark. I usually try to stay away from the Arabic because our people are confused enough.
Right.
So,
But I know we got a lot of, that's, you know what?
I'm saying, let's why let you do that.
Yeah.
Our people are this way, but
You got a business card?
You know what I listen to a lot?
What's the my information though?
What's the email from New York? He's from Brooklyn. He traveled all over.
Man, Siraj. Siraj.
Is that his name?
In fact, he used to be one of my students out in New York.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Because I know he got a match. And, I listen to a lot of.
He be all over. Talk to the kids.
My kids told me what I do and don't do things.
No, that's right.
Are you at your phone?
I got it.
Okay.
You gonna send it to me?
No, just tell me your number. I'm gonna call you. You have my number.
All right, 267.
Okay, hold on a second. My kids be on me.
Don't use it.
You know the folks gonna be in town. He get making all those money.
977.